Everyone's heard of the famous Machu Picchu in Peru, yet few know that its architecture features some remarkable characteristics, like the extremely precise polygonal masonry. The strange scoop marks evidence of stone softening technology, the exact solar and celestial alignments, the sophisticated hydraulic system of the site that rivals modern hydraulics, the secret chambers, the excavation of which is forbidden, and, mysteriously, the numerous discoveries of strange, elongated skulls that do not resemble any known human species. Join us as we explore the pre-Inca foundational construction of the site and its most remarkable characteristics. If you're fascinated by the prehistoric civilizations missing from our history books, embark on a remarkable journey with our eBook, Prehistoric Megastructures. This nearly 500-page volume is packed with images and in-depth explorations of some of the most astonishing and unexplained ancient structures ever discovered, monuments that were clearly built with advanced technology from a time long forgotten. There's a limited discount on the ebook, so make sure to click the link in the description or top pinned comment and uncover the mysteries that mainstream history refuses to acknowledge. Machu Picchu, the famed Inca citadel perched high in the Peruvian Andes, is well known for its stunning stone architecture. Many of its structures feature massive megalithic stone blocks fitted together with extraordinary precision, without any mortar. These walls, with blocks weighing several tons each, are so tightly joined that even a knife blade cannot be inserted between the stones. In this demonstration, a tiny gauge measuring 0.09 millimeters was used, and it still didn't fit in between the gaps. This remarkable construction has fueled both mainstream admiration of Inca engineering and alternative theories that an earlier advanced civilization built the megalithic core of Machu Picchu, a civilization far predating the Inca themselves, who most likely inherited the site. Proponents of such theories point to the difference between the finely fitted cyclopean masonry and the cruder wall repairs, composed of smaller stones and mud, suggesting the latter were later repairs by the Incas on a far older site. The pre-Inca construction was built from white granite containing quartz crystal. Quartz is 7 out of 10 on the scale of hardness, which means bronze tools can't even scratch the surface of these massive blocks, the largest of which weighs around 50 tons. So how is it possible that the Inca quarried, transported, shaped, and fitted these giant granite blocks with such astonishing precision? The true capabilities of the Inca are clearly seen in the small stones glued together with clay, creating a stark contrast with the older megalithic constructions. Take a look at the lower portion of this wall and doorway, consisting of monumental stones meticulously interlocked without gaps, whereas the upper portion is filled in with smaller rubble stones and mud mortar, a visibly lower quality repair construction added on a much later timeline. It's interesting to note that this doorway faces exactly true north, indicating that these were aligned to show the movements of the sun during the daytime. Unlike magnetic north, which shifts over time with the wandering of Earth's magnetic field, true north is fixed, anchored to the axis of Earth's rotation and the position of the celestial pole. To align a structure perfectly with it requires either advanced astronomical observations or some unknown surveying technology. Mainstream archaeology insists that the Inca, and any known pre-Inca builders, had no compasses, no telescopes, and no advanced instruments capable of calculating true cardinal points with such accuracy. Perched on the highest terrace of Machu Picchu's sacred sector stands the Intiwatana stone, a carved granite monolith whose very name means the place to tie up the sun. It is widely considered the cosmic heart of Machu Picchu, and its form, placement, and orientation reveal a sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. Its upper surface is sculpted into a series of planes, angles, and notches, with the central feature being a rectangular pillar that rises about 1 meter high. The planes of the stone correspond to cardinal directions, and its pillar is not arbitrary. It is oriented to celestial movements. The Intiwatana stone was used as a solar clock. Its edges and pillar cast shadows that shift predictably with the sun's position in the sky. At the equinoxes, the midday sun stands directly overhead, and the pillar casts almost no shadow at all. This phenomenon would have allowed the ancient astronomers to mark the changing of the seasons precisely. At the solstices, the shadow falls at extreme angles, marking the longest and shortest days of the year. Some researchers, like Brian Forster, believe the Intihuatana's angles and planes could encode more complex astronomical data, such as the movements of the Pleiades star cluster. Alternative theorists suggest the stone functioned as an energy device, harnessing geomagnetic or telluric currents, a more speculative but popular idea among visitors who claim to feel a vibration near the stone. Another strange mystery is that on some of the pre-Inca stonework, we see these strange scoop marks, almost like someone softened the stone, melting it, and then removing parts of it. The same scoop marks can be seen on various other prehistoric megastructures around the world. The most notable characteristic, which is also a worldwide phenomenon with prehistoric megastructures, is the knobs seen on some of the stone blocks. These knobs appear in structures in Peru, Bolivia, China, Egypt, and many other places around the globe, and their true purpose is still unknown. Among the stone marvels of Machu Picchu, the Temple of the Sun, also called the Torreon, meaning the tower, is perhaps the most iconic and mysterious. It is one of the few buildings in the citadel with a curved wall built with the finest stonework, smooth, tightly fitted granite blocks that demonstrate the highest craftsmanship of the builders. The temple sits at the heart of the site, elevated above other structures, reinforcing its role as a center of astronomical activity. The tower contains several trapezoidal windows cut with extraordinary precision. These windows are not random. They are astronomically aligned, designed to track the sun's movements across the sky. Nestled beneath the great stone tower of the Sun Temple, we find the Temple of Mother Earth. The temple lies in a subterranean chamber, a natural cave that was transformed into a finely crafted space by lining and shaping its walls with stonework. The walls of the cave were partly lined with finely cut granite blocks, seamlessly integrated with the raw bedrock. The joints are tight, often so precise that they require no mortar, showing the same mastery as Machu Picchu's elite buildings. Many believe that some of the stones on the sides were somehow melted to get this extremely bent, irregular shape. The scale of Machu Picchu is astonishing, and if you visit the site, it will take you roughly 3 hours to fully explore it, as there are hundreds of rooms, passageways, terraces, and possibly secret chambers, as it's believed that 60% of Machu Picchu is still underground. In 2010, the French engineer David Crespi visited Machu Picchu and turned his attention to one of the citadel's most iconic structures, the Temple of the Three Windows. This temple, part of the Sacred Plaza, is known for its 3 perfectly cut trapezoidal windows looking east toward the rising sun. But Crespi wasn't looking at the windows. He was studying the stone wall at the back of the structure, which struck him as suspicious. Unlike other parts of Machu Picchu's megalithic architecture, this back wall seemed to serve no clear architectural purpose. To Crespi's trained eye, It looked less like a solid barrier and more like a sealed doorway, a blockage possibly hiding an entrance into deeper chambers. Realizing the implications, Crespi alerted Peruvian archaeological authorities about what he believed could be a significant discovery, perhaps a hidden passage leading beneath the Temple of the Three Windows. His warnings, however, were largely ignored. Official teams offered no follow-up, perhaps reluctant to disturb the sacred site or skeptical of what lay behind the stonework. But Crespi was not convinced it was a dead end. After years of inaction, he reached out to Thierry Jamin, a French archaeologist already well known for his work in Peru, especially his explorations of Inca and pre-Inca sites across the Amazonian Andes. In April 2012, Jamin received authorization to carry out a non-invasive geophysical survey of the area. His team used ground-penetrating radar, a technology capable of revealing cavities, voids, and anomalies beneath solid surfaces. The results were astonishing. The scans indicated the presence of a chamber beneath the Temple of the Three Windows, accessible via what appeared to be a sealed staircase. Even more intriguingly, the radar suggested the chamber contained a concentration of metallic objects. The readings were consistent with deposits of gold and silver, the sacred metals of the Inca elite. Despite the remarkable radar data, Jamin's request to excavate was denied by the Peruvian government. The Ministry of Culture cited preservation concerns, arguing that invasive digging could destabilize the fragile architecture of Machu Picchu. To this day, the chamber remains sealed and unexplored. No official excavation has ever been permitted, and the findings remain in limbo, acknowledged but never acted upon. This silence has only added to the mystery. Why, many ask, would authorities not pursue such a potentially groundbreaking discovery? Some argue it is an abundance of caution. Others whisper about political or cultural sensitivities, fearing what it might mean to open the tomb of the Inca world's most sacred sanctuary. The story resonates with similar discoveries around the world, like the use of radar at Giza, revealing hidden voids in the Great Pyramid, the scans at Tiwanaku and Pumapunku suggesting underground galleries, the discovery of sealed tunnels beneath Teotihuacan's Temple of the Feathered Serpent, filled with metallic spheres. In each case, technology has revealed mysteries beneath the stone, but excavation lags behind, leaving the world tantalized by what might be waiting below. Machu Picchu sits precariously on a mountain ridge, nearly 2,500 meters, 8,200 feet above sea level, in a place of heavy rainfall. Without a masterful drainage system, the citadel's terraces, temples, and plazas would have been destroyed by landslides, flooding, or erosion long ago. Yet, Machu Picchu's structures still stand. The reason? A sophisticated hydraulic and drainage network built by its engineers. Across the site run stone-lined drainage canals that collected rainwater and runoff from roofs. These channels snake through plazas and stairways, directing water away from structures. In some places, they join with the ceremonial water fountains, a sequence of 16 stone-carved fountains that also carried water from a nearby spring. Even today, Machu Picchu is considered a hydrological masterpiece. During storms, water flows off the terraces and plazas rapidly without causing flooding. The subsoil filters reduce erosion, so the terraces remain stable after centuries. Modern engineers who studied the site, like Kenneth Wright, a civil engineer specializing in hydraulics, concluded that Machu Picchu's drainage system is as advanced as many modern urban projects. Wright called it 75% invisible engineering, hidden beneath the ground but absolutely essential to the site's survival. When the American explorer Hiram Bingham first brought Machu Picchu to the world's attention in 1911, the focus quickly turned to its stunning stone terraces, temples, and breathtaking mountain setting. Yet in the years that followed, another discovery associated with Bingham's expedition sparked curiosity and controversy: the elongated human skulls unearthed in and around the site. To mainstream archaeologists, these were examples of cranial deformation, a cultural practice known from many ancient societies. But to others, their unusual size and extreme shape hint at the survival of a lost prehistoric people, perhaps the true architects of Machu Picchu long before the Incas. During Bingham's Yale Peruvian expedition from 1912 to 1915, a series of excavations were carried out at Machu Picchu, its cemeteries, and surrounding caves. The team recovered dozens of human remains, including skulls that did not resemble typical Andean crania. Several of these were elongated with sloping foreheads, enlarged cranial vaults, and exaggerated cranial capacity. The skulls were carefully packed and shipped to Yale University along with artifacts, pottery, and other finds. Some were later displayed or described in reports, though often overshadowed by the architectural revelations of the site. But even Bingham himself noted how peculiar they appeared, hinting that Machu Picchu might have been inhabited by a very different population before the Incas ever arrived. The mainstream explanation for elongated skulls in the Andes is artificial cranial deformation. This practice, widespread among Andean societies, involved binding an infant's head with cloth, boards, or cradle boards to reshape the skull as it developed. The result was a tall, elongated cranium seen as a mark of nobility, beauty, or status. Indeed, such skulls have been documented across Peru, Bolivia, and Chile, especially among the Paracas culture of the southern coast. But here lies the mystery. Why would an entire society come to believe that an elongated skull was the visible sign of power, superiority, or divine connection? One powerful theory is that the practice of cranial deformation was an imitation of a real, earlier population that naturally bore elongated skulls. These individuals, whether a distinct race, a hybrid group, or a prehistoric elite, would have stood out physically from the general population. Their appearance and technological superiority would have marked them as different, perhaps even divine. Later cultures, including the Incas, may have copied this physical trait artificially, binding their infants' heads to resemble the ancestral elites they revered. Over time, cranial elongation itself became a status symbol, not because it had functional value, but because it visually linked Inca nobility to the legendary builders of the past. However, the skulls associated with Bingham's excavations raised deeper questions. Some skulls appeared far more extreme than typical examples of cultural cranial shaping. The slope of the forehead and cranial dome in certain specimens seemed beyond what binding alone could produce. Reports circulated that these skulls had larger than normal brain volumes, suggesting a physiological difference rather than mere reshaping. While many of these claims remain contested, they fueled speculation that the skulls belonged to a distinct population. In the decades since Bingham's discovery, the elongated skulls have been absorbed into a larger narrative of pre-Inca civilizations in Peru. Alternative historians and researchers argue that these skulls may represent the remnants of a different race or culture, one that predates the Inca by centuries or millennia. The argument goes that the same mysterious population responsible for the elongated skulls also built the most advanced megalithic stonework of the Andes, the finely fitted mortarless walls of Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, and Machu Picchu itself. Later Inca people, those skilled builders, could not replicate this megalithic perfection. Instead, they found, reused, and repaired the older ruins. The skulls may be the biological remnants of these prehistoric master masons. This could also be the reason the later Inca people tried to look like these technologically advanced ancestors, deforming their cranial shapes. Elongated skulls are not unique to Peru. They have been found in Egypt, linked to Amarna's royal family like Akhenaten and Nefertiti, in the Caucasus, in the island cultures of Melanesia, and among ancient peoples of Central Asia. This global pattern suggests to some a shared prehistoric tradition or even a widespread ancient civilization, with Peru's elongated skulls as one branch of a global phenomenon. Despite all the unexplained mysteries and advanced characteristics of Machu Picchu we discussed, the mainstream narrative of the site is very limited. Ask any archaeologist today about Machu Picchu, and the answer comes swiftly and confidently. It is a 15th century royal estate built by the Inca Emperor Pachacuti around 1450 CE. According to the Orthodox narrative, Machu Picchu was conceived as a luxury retreat and sacred ceremonial center perched high in the Andes. Its agricultural terraces fed the residents, its temples honored the sun and the mountain gods, and its breathtaking setting made it a spiritual nexus for the Inca elite. The Incas, the story goes, built the entire site within a few decades using their remarkable engineering skills, then abandoned it less than a century later when the Spanish conquest shattered their empire. Because the Spaniards never discovered Machu Picchu, the city remained largely intact until its rediscovery by Hiram Bingham in 1911, when it was revealed to the modern world. This is the official history repeated in classrooms, guidebooks, and museums, a short-lived jewel of Inca engineering, built and abandoned in the twilight years of their empire. While this story is tidy and convenient, a closer look at Machu Picchu raises troubling questions. Anyone who walks through Machu Picchu can see it. Some walls are made of massive granite blocks, carefully carved into irregular polygonal shapes that lock together with almost impossible precision. Other walls, often stacked directly above or beside these masterpieces, are made of small stones held together with mud mortar, visibly less refined and far more vulnerable to erosion. Why such a dramatic difference in craftsmanship on the same site? Mainstream archaeology insists this reflects social hierarchy, the best work for temples, the rougher work for storage rooms and common houses. Yet in many places, the cruder construction is not simply a different building, but a repair or extension grafted onto older, superior walls. This suggests not just stylistic choice, but two distinct phases of construction, possibly by two very different cultures. Studies show that some of Machu Picchu's walls were damaged by earthquakes and later repaired with smaller stones and mortar. This means the oldest megalithic sections predate the Incas' final construction phase. The Incas were patching, not originating, parts of the site. The Inca are said to have built Machu Picchu with only bronze chisels and hammerstones, no steel tools, no wheels, no draft animals. Yet they somehow quarried, transported, and perfectly fit blocks weighing 20 to 50 tons up steep mountain slopes. Mainstream archaeology accepts this without question, but engineering studies point out the enormous logistical challenges. The mortarless joints with complex multi-angled cuts are beyond what one would expect from simple hammerstone pounding. Excavations at Machu Picchu show Inca artifacts, burials, and ceramics from the 15th and 16th centuries, but no direct evidence of megalithic construction activity at that time. Where are the tools, unfinished blocks or workspaces that should exist if the Incas truly built the Cyclopean walls from scratch. What we see instead is evidence of occupation, use, and repair, not necessarily original construction. An alternative perspective is emerging, one that sees Machu Picchu not as a purely Inca creation, but as a multi-layered site whose origins go back thousands of years earlier. The oldest megalithic walls, with their precision-fitted stones, represent the work of a prehistoric advanced civilization that flourished in the Andes long before the rise of the Inca. These builders possess sophisticated knowledge of stone cutting, transport, and seismic-resistant architecture that the Incas later could not replicate. The Incas arrived much later, perhaps finding Machu Picchu already partially in ruins. They recognized its sacred importance, incorporated it into their empire, and repaired or extended it using their own rougher methods, small stones and mortar. The resulting hybrid site is what we see today, a palimpsest of two vastly different cultural phases, one prehistoric and technically advanced, the other Inca and historically recent. If the megalithic sections are not Inca, how old are they? Mainstream archaeology ties everything to the 15th century because that is when Inca artifacts appear. But the stones themselves cannot be dated directly. Granite does not yield radiocarbon dates, and without organic material locked into the joints, the megaliths remain archaeologically silent. This silence leaves the door open for alternative chronologies. Some suggest the megalithic foundations could be 2,000 to 3,000 years old, linked to pre-Inca cultures like the Pucara or Tiwanaku traditions. Others push further back, proposing an age of 10,000 to 12,000 years, tying Machu Picchu's origins to the end of the last ice age, when global cataclysms may have destroyed an advanced prehistoric civilization remembered in myths of Atlantis or Viracocha. The fact that similar megalithic techniques appear at sites across the world strengthens the case for a much older advanced megalithic civilizations, predating the Incas by millennia. The Inca themselves seem to admit this in their legends. When Spanish chroniclers asked them who built the great stoneworks of Cusco and Sacsayhuaman, some Inca nobles replied that they were made by earlier peoples, sometimes described as giants, sometimes as the god Viracocha's followers. These were not casual statements. They reflect a deep cultural memory that the finest megaliths were inherited, not created by the Inca. If you want to explore another remarkable pre-Inca site, you can watch our documentary on Ollantaytambo. The link is in the top pinned comment.